Alright, so what does it say at the very top? Overcoming objections, influence and change. So when you guys think about influence and change, do we often face resistance? All the time? Okay, what else do you guys think? Is it consistent? Do we often? Yeah, some people are just, what do they think when they think about change? Why not?
Because they're used to a certain way.
Okay.
And they just move, and it's quicker for them. They don't have to think about it.
Okay. Why are people often resistant to change? What are some of the reasons you guys think of?
You get comfortable.
Okay.
It's like the fear of the unknown. Like
Okay.
It's something that you've not done before, whether it's like, yeah, I think my check after checks every month.
Right.
I'm okay with that. It's a system that works. Why change it?
Right, so it's the fear of the unknown. It's something new, something I'm not used to, so I'm definitely going to be resistant to it, right? So a lot of things, while we get into discussing this type of new tactic of how to overcome some of the objections you guys are going to be facing there as technology consultant, is the first thing we need to understand is people come in, generally your members that you deal with, they're going to fall into 3 different categories. So the first one there at the top being is convinced, right? So 10% of the members that we deal with are convinced that the way they do their banking, just like Jaspreet and Sarah shared, that I do my 10 cashier's checks every single day of the month on the 5th. I come in, that's the way I do it. I don't want to hear about this new way of doing things, or I can go online. So 10% of the member base that you guys are dealing with, they're just set in stone. So we're just going to let them be. So they're convinced. A lot of times they're not accepting change. So that's 10% of your members that come in. The other 10 would be the next column, which is the concern. And a lot of times, even though the word says concern, and you kind of have this association with the word maybe being bad, a lot of times this 10% of the concern of our members are those low members, those ones that the minute they see that new commercial or the new, what's our current rate for our Visa that we've dropped and we kind of consolidated, and it gets members into the door. They're the first ones at your desk, like, Justin, I just saw you guys' promotion, or I heard the radio, sign me up for that new credit card. Because they're concerned, because they want to take advantage of what's current, what's new, how else can Golden One save them money. So a lot of times it's going to be our loyal members. Loyal members, and often they're more susceptible to the change. They're ready. Those are the easy ones that you don't necessarily have to call because they're at your window asking every single day, hey, what's the new auto rate? Are you guys having a new CD special coming up soon? They're the ones always asking for that business, right? So a lot of times oh, well, I see George come in every single week. He's going to probably ask me about that new auto rate. I got the new auto rate. I'm going to pitch him the enterprise promo or the 90-day deferral payment, right? So we have 10% that, always going to tell us no matter what pitch line we use, and then 10% we don't really need to try because they're always at your desk, or they're always calling you or telling you, hey, so when you get a new product or a new check account, let me know because my son's about to turn 18. We'll get him in here, right? So they're always reminding you that, hey, I'm going to give you my business without you even having to ask for it. All right, and then the majority of your guys' members, it's going to be 80%, and then they're going to be in the complacent. So what do I mean by complacent? Unsure? More like they know what they're doing. They're unsure that what they're doing is good for them. It works good for them at this point right now. They know they need to do something, they just don't know what that something is. So that's where 80% of our members sit, is they sometimes need the MRS or the MSR just to branch out to give them that gentle nudge in the right direction. So not necessarily pushing or being really aggressive, but they're going to come to you sometimes and they might not see it as a need. So that way, based on some of the stuff that we've talked about and some of the questions that you guys have told T, ask how do you pay your bills, or I give them an open-ended question because we want to make sure is it a need or is it an urgent? It may be an urgent matter for the member before they can notice it themselves. Because a lot of times they know how they do their banking, and it's okay, it works for me right now, but I'm not aware that I might need to be doing something new, or that we're kind of shifting in a new digital format. So a lot of times, maybe they are an online user, but they necessarily don't use mobile. Why not? So some of you in the morning said that you guys do bank with us, but you guys don't use Pop Money. Why? Those of us that said no, why don't you guys use Pop Money? don't have the need. So if we can create that need, or if I can introduce you on how it can make maybe certain aspects of your life a little bit easier, and you can be like, oh, you know what, I didn't really need it before, but now I can see how it makes it a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about going to the ATM. When we go, it's easy to navigate or negotiate lunch. One person go pay for it, and I can just pop money. It doesn't create, it used to be an inconvenience where one person would pay for the tab, and you have to go and figure out how you're gonna pay. If Jay was to pay your lunch for all you guys, how would you pay him back? You either have to go to the ATM, and then you get a 20, you have to go break it. But now that you know about pop money, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. So that's something that's been introduced to you guys. Same thing, same aspect applies to the members. A lot of times they're complacent in what they do, but they're not aware. No, I don't take advantage of pop money, or I don't use mobile deposit. Why? I just don't need it. I come here and make my deposits. Right, what if everything's set up direct deposit? So there's all these other things that, you know, I don't really need it, but what if we create that need? Then they can be like, oh yeah, you know what, that was missing out of my financial banking, or the pop money was missing out of my daily banking. Now it's gonna be something new. Now I'm gonna fall into, well, you might switch from the 8% to that 10%. Now they're always going to come to you because you're looking out for them. So the complacent just means, you know, that what they're doing, to them it seems perfectly fine. They just need that gentle nudge so we can get them in the right direction. All right, so understand that most of our members fall into these three categories. We've got the convinced that are 10% of your member base. And then the other 10% are the concerned. Then we got the 80% that are complacent with what their banking situation is at the current time. So once we understand our member base, then the next portion we're going to face, or you guys are going to face, is resistance, right? Because a lot of times, specifically with this class, we're focusing on, what is it that we're focusing on? What type of products? Right, so technology-based products. So are your guys' member base very open to new technology or ways of doing their banking differently? Some members are, some members aren't, and then some members are going to need that gentle nudge. All right, so a lot of times you guys are going to be facing that resistance, and one way to reduce that is there's been some studies that have been done that show that when you initially have that desk conversation with the member, you're going to face a lot of resistance. It's going to be pretty high. And then as you spend more time, so the T is supposed to stand for time. So as you spend more time with the member, that resistance gradually gets lower. And eventually, there's a moment where they buy into whatever product or whatever service you're trying to attempt them to sign on to, whether it be mobile deposit, pop money. At first, they may be a little hesitant or they may be a little doubtful what you're presenting. Then eventually, they're going to buy in. So how do we reduce that resistance? So the first part is going to be, one, some of the things you guys already do is we're going to be using your benefits. So a lot of you already know the features to all of these products and those benefits. Okay, what does the benefit mean to the member? So we're all pretty good with the benefits, the feature and benefit statement. The next thing we want to do is show the magnitude. So what do I mean by magnitude? What do I mean by magnitude, Jay?
How much are they, what it's saving money or?
Right. So just how much is it benefiting them? So these two go hand in hand. If you're going to tell them, you know, it's going to save you time. Well, how much time is it going to save you? It's going to save you an hour off your commute. You don't have to stop by the branch. Times that by 5, that's 5 hours a week. So 5 hours extra that you can do whatever you like. Is that a benefit to you? Yeah. So a lot of times members like to see that magnitude because it's a contrast. So it's easier for them to make that decision. You're saving money, but how much money am I saving? So it's going to be a little bit more convincing to the member to see, okay, this is how it benefits them, and then the magnitude. And then finally, the third way we're going to reduce their resistance is using some of the things that some of the tools that we already showed you. So what are some of the tools that we showed you today? All right, so the demo on the internet. What else?
Reset their password.
All right, so Jeff went over with you guys with Relationship Manager how to reset their password. All right, and then we got the FAQs. So if they ask you, you know, what is an EVO or can I dispute it, and then those type of questions, then you know exactly where to go. So you guys, we provided you all those tools and resources. You can use the FAQ, the internet, and then we have on that demo that Jay shared with us you can direct a member to our site where we have some of the demos that they can do and they can view at home, right? We have some of the Pop Money, the Golden One Mobile. So there's a lot of demos online for the members. So you can direct them, hey, when you get home, if you forget all these steps I've told you, you can go back home, click here, and then retake some of these demos so this way the information is fresh to you. Or you can watch it at your leisure. All right, so these 3 ways are going to be, again, tools that are going to be in your tool bag to know, okay, this is how, if I do face resistance, well, first I'm going to use the benefits, then I need to show them the magnitude of how much it's going to benefit them. And then finally, I can turn back to my FAQs or Viewpoint. We've shown you guys some new ways to look at Viewpoint and what to look for and what those icons stand for. All right, so that's the reduce section. And at the next page, so the next page just says gain, right? So first we've understood that people come in 3 buckets, either the convinced, concerned, or complacent, right? And then I'm going to know that I'm going to be facing some resistance, so how am I going to reduce that? So I've taken the steps, shown the benefits, then the magnitude, and then finally now we're going to get their gain, or in other words, their acceptance. And what I mean by acceptance is a lot of times this acceptance is just going to be done with a close-ended statement telling them, 1, what your role is as a technology consultant, and then what the outcome that you want it to, what the outcome that you want at the end of this. So it may sound something like, you know, me as your technology consultant, you know, showing you the steps that I've shown you here, and with our support, is this something now that you can see yourself doing? So a lot of times the members are either going to say, what? Maybe, or yes or no. So we're looking for a closed-ended answer, right? So if I ask you, you know, now Sarah, I've shown you how to use the FAQs. So I've shown you Viewpoint. So do you think now that that's something that you're going to be able to use with our support training here, and with a little bit of practice, is that something you can see yourself using? So it'll be something like that. So exactly in that way, just the way I asked you, and all I'm looking for is acceptance. So gaining, so a member can say, yeah, I can start using Pop Money. Same way, same principle, all right? So 1, we'll get their acceptance by using that type of statement. And that's generally what I mean by gaining the member's acceptance. All right, so the next little paragraph there on the bottom says aim. And as you can all see by looking down, we can decipher what AIM stands for. But before we get and jump into AIM, how many of us cook or barbecue or do AIM? Yes? Do you guys cook and Jay, do you cook?
Barbecue.
You
Where's
love
AIM
barbecue?
at? I don't see that.
No, it's just,
Oh.
I'm just asking, just to
Oh,
make
okay.
some conversation. No, I'm going somewhere with this. So, think about the very first, think about your favorite dish that you know how to make, like the back of your hand. You have that in your mind? Sure? What is that you're thinking of?
Ribs.
You love to make ribs? You're good at it? All right, so now we know who to make ribs for our problems. All right, so think about that very first time that you wanted to attempt to make those ribs, or whatever plate you had in your mind. Were you successful the very first time you attempted it? To some degree. All right. Why were you not successful, Jay?
I just didn't know how long to cook it, how much salt to put.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared.
You weren't prepared, right? So what was it that you did to attempt? Like, walk me through the steps. What was it that you did to attempt to cook these ribs?
I just looked online for ingredients and how to do it, but didn't really read the instructions thoroughly, so
Okay.
kind of guessed.
Just kind of guess. Okay. And then, Jaspreet, you said to some extent you were successful. Why?
Well, it's kind of like going along with Jay's saying, is that you see the ingredients, kind of skim what the instructions are, and then you're like, oh, I can do this.
Okay.
And then you do it, it wasn't like a complete failure, but
Okay.
it wasn't the success that you wanted.
Okay. It wasn't the success you wanted. All right. So now you guys have, Jay, now you're good at ribs. So what's the difference between when you first attempted it to now? Why are you so successful at it?
I've done it a couple times.
All right. And what else?
And, I know how much ingredients to put
Okay.
and how long to cook it for.
Okay. So what's the difference? What do you guys think the difference is from the very first time you attempted to do something in regards to cooking and baking and, you know, was it successful to now that favorite dish that you make? Why does it come out so good?
I like the trial and error process, get your experience.
Okay, so trial and error, get your experience. All right, what else? Practice. Now you're more confident. Okay. What else? Why were you so successful now as to your very first time? What separates from me trying it the very first time? So if I wanted to try this, how can I make sure that I'm successful? I've never tried attempted to make ribs. So what's your advice?
That's not show.
Have someone show me. Okay. So you want to show me how to make ribs, then we'll be successful.
Or walking through it.
Walk me through it. All right. So what usually follows when you guys are trying to cook something?
Check it out.
You try it out. A recipe, right? So a lot of times, Jay, you were saying, you know, you didn't know how much salt to add. So what's the purpose of the recipe?
Give you a general guideline.
To kind of give you a general guidance in the steps. So eventually, if you follow steps 1 through 5, then you should get ribs or whatever dish you make. You should get this cake or what have you, right? But through trial and errors, sometimes it's going to come out, the ribs are going to come out really nice and good. And other times they're going to be super dry and it's just you're going to be tasting cardboard, right? Or charcoal, what have you. So same aspect when it comes to the sales process is that it's going to be trial and error. That's one. And then the other thing is you're going to have to figure out your own recipe and to figure out, okay, how much salt do I need to add? And then when do I need to add it? Do I need to add it in the beginning of the process when I'm first having that conversation? Or should I wait on my product and then after I build that rapport and I've gained their trust and then they come back the second time, then that's when I'm going to talk to them about the product. So a lot of times, a lot of MSRs and MRs is just branched up across the board. They do a lot of trial and error, but they fail to do what? To remember that there should be a recipe of consistency. So then this way, every single time you have that interaction with a member, it's always successful. Because if you kind of go through the motion, you kind of just guess at it, well then guess what? We're going to be guessing for quite some time, and then you're not going to know, okay, I'm having an interaction with this member, well hopefully it comes out good, but do you know in which direction are you going? No, why? Because I don't have a recipe. So we'll break it down and we'll create a recipe for a consistent outcome that's going to be hopefully successful for you guys. So a lot of times, if you've taken any of my classes, I always share this with you guys. And Jay, you had a preview of this, so hopefully I'll be calling on you. All right, so there's 3 aspects to this recipe for success that you guys should really get down. And that's understanding several things. So in that aim section right there, you can write down these 3 steps that you want to really understand. You're on that right page, sir. Oh, that's right here, it should say, and it says something else in response.
See, you're throwing me off of that. Okay. So it's this one.
Yeah, it's not, oh, you're right, just put a line through that.
Okay.
That one should have been updated there. All right, so the first step in understanding is, and where are you guys right now? Training. So in training, it's another way you guys can really get a good foundation of knowledge for the products. So training. So you can see there's several different ways that you guys are going to understand our products. So it can be using them, procedures, competition, training, just always kind of a circle that just keeps on going, right? It's just always growing. So that's one step to our recipe. The second one, is your audience. This one familiar, Jay? Okay. You ready? Short-term memory loss? All right. Okay. It's all about repetition. So what do I mean by your audience? Why do we need to understand your audience?
There's always a different approach for each person.
Okay.
You know, like if you're talking to someone, going back to what we were talking about, the 10% or the 80%, if you're talking to your loyal members, you know, they're already coming to you with some kind of background knowledge of the product that they're inquiring about.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to spend time going over product knowledge and you can cut straight to the chase. You know, so it really is like understanding where the conversation needs to begin and what you need to present to the person or the people you're talking to.
That's great. That's fantastic. So yes, knowing who's sitting in front of you, because then this way, not only knowing who's sitting in front of you, but who's most likely to say yes to what you have to say. So then just like Jaspreet mentioned, you know, if I know that Justin is somewhat savvier of a member that uses all of our mobile functions and he's enrolled online, I'm not going to go and sit there and tell him, hey, you get 100 free checks, and tell him about all our, when he's like, you know, I use all, why don't you tell me something that's appealing to me? So definitely knowing who's in front of us is going to make your, it's going to make it a little bit easier. And what's the third one? What's the third one, Jay?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm patient. Starts with the P. You can phone a friend. So it's process, just what Jaspreet was kind of hinting towards. You want to make sure that your process matches your audience, because you don't want to be talking again about the whole spiel, telling them what comes with the free checking app. There's so many things we've all memorized, what comes with it, how many free checks, ATM cards, where are the locations, what other ATMs I can use. I've heard the spiels over and over. But if we, one, we understand our products, and two, we understand who's in front of us, finally, the third aspect is going to be your process. But with your process, you always want to include something extra, that extra spice to your recipe, which is, what is it, Jay? No. Close, not benefits, but insights. So what do I mean by insight? What is insight?
So you can share other member experiences on how other people found it useful.
Okay.
And you're saying if you don't personally have the, you know, same setup they do, how you, like another parent or student found it.
Okay.
appropriate for them.
Okay, so sharing some experience with a member, great. What else do you guys think, what do you guys think of when you hear the word insight? That's great, thank you.
And, you know, working at the credit union or working for an institution, people come to you and they want, you know, like you should be able to talk about the product as if you're using it yourself,
Mhm.
you know, even if you're not. So the insight is like giving your own personal, like, well, you know, I use this product and this is how it helps me.
Right, so going along the lines of, you know, just providing information that's beyond the obvious. So a lot of times what happens is, we get handed brochures, and we've all been in that situation where you're at a retail store and you ask, okay, what's the difference between product A and product B? So a lot of times, if you're at a Best Buy, they have their tickets underneath their products. A lot of times if you're looking at their, you know, laptops or computers, you see the price and then what it comes with, right? Their specs, so it comes with how much hard drive, all this other stuff. Now, if we've all been in a situation where an employee comes up to you and asks, okay, what type of questions do you have? And you gotta tell them, you know, tell me about product A and product B, and then they just read you what's on that ticket. Now, is that really going above and beyond? Is that really them providing you insight? Or is that them just regurgitating the information that's on there? So a lot of times, that's what ends up happening, even our competitors. You go over there, and you ask for a product, and they give you a brochure. We've had all had those experiences where you're trying to open either a new account or just shopping for your first bank account. Think about that first experience. Were you given that brochure and then just given information that's right off that brochure? Or were you given a little bit more insight where you walk away and you're like, wow, I didn't know that's how that account worked. Or I didn't know that this bank provides that type of service. And then think about your own experiences and your own interactions you have with your members. So you know the products and you know the audience because a lot of you were selected because either you use already some of our products or that you're stellar with our products, audience, and your process. Now, do you provide most of our members insight? Then from what I've seen here, everyone has a good handle on all these three, and you guys are going above and beyond, because I've seen some of the interactions where like how UNT were doing the role play, going above and beyond and understanding them. So this is the first step of, hey, you know what, I want to gain more insight, so when I have those interactions with a member, I can then share that information with them. I can help them reset their password. Now I know the difference between a reset password and now block of my security questions. I know where to go. So it's not going to be information that the member can get off just a simple brochure or then by asking you a simple question. We're going to have to dig a little bit deeper, right? So remembering these three things is going to be really what's going to determine make that recipe for you guys successful. So just a quick recap. We're going to, first one is understand your products. And we already talked about the different ways you guys can go about that. Understand your audience, and I think Jaspreet, you summed it up really good of why it's important to understand your audience. And then the process, and always making sure that your process is going to vary. So sometimes you're going to have a long line, and your process needs to be much more quicker because you don't have all the time in the day to discuss the member. You know, I can't probe, I can't ask my clarifying questions. Other times where then nobody walks into your branch, which, you know, Thomas is probably seldomly that you guys aren't busy, right? We're always busy. I almost walked in there on Saturday, but the line was to the door, so I was like, I can't even get in, so I'm gonna go to use the ATM.
That's why I chose today to come to training.
So your process, you do have to have a lot of different processes because you're always busy. Whereas if you have a different branch and you're a little bit smaller, your process may have to vary. You might either be from a small process where it's really quick, or nobody comes into my branch. Oh, I came from the Bay Area branch, where sometimes nobody would come until lunchtime. So I had a lengthier process. And then for some of us that are on the platform, we're going to have that desk conversation. It's going to be completely different from a conversation that they're going to have with someone on the teleline, right? And then from the desk conversation, you're going to have a conversation over the phone when you're either calling on a lead list or you're trying to call back a member for maybe the check didn't go through or something like that. So your process is always different. Do we always really think about this? No, we just kind of go in that state of mind. So when you're having this interaction, you want to make sure that we're providing the members with some insight. It's easier said than done, but from what I've seen, I think you guys got a good grasp on that. So now that we have the basic fundamentals on our recipe here, now we're going to add AIM. Now I know that your guys' outline doesn't have AIM, so I'm going to tell you guys that it should have had AIM. We'll take a note of that and we'll update it. So I'll tell you guys what AIM is all about. It used to be called what you guys have on there, responsible upselling, but it's not. So we got those 3 steps. Now we're going to add AIM to it. So what AIM stands for is acknowledge, initiate, and minimize. All right, so we're going to add this to your guys' recipe here. AIM, so we're going to acknowledge, initiate, and minimize. So what necessarily AIM is raising up the concern or the potential objection that the member is going to have prior to them saying anything. So before they even say anything, let's say you have your members, and you can see that a lot of you guys put different objections there: no access, no internet access, no smartphone. A lot of times with technology, members do often say, well, it's too complex or it's too difficult, right? It's either, oh, I'm not really that tech savvy. So we can see that by some of the objections you guys have put around the board. There's going to be a handful of objections or resistance that's going to be common. You're going to be hearing that common, why they don't want to do it. Well, it's too hard, or I don't have a smartphone. So knowing the fact that 1, we understand our products, 2, we understand the audience, and then 3, we have a process. So depending on our process and the audience, we should acknowledge the fact that there's going to be an objection, right? So we're creating a game plan prior to having that interaction with the member. So let's say the member's going to object. They're going to say it's too complex. All right, so I'm already thinking, this member, through some of the things that we talked about earlier, clarifying questions, body language, eye contact, I'm seeing that this member is going to say it's too complex. So then how do we initiate that conversation? So 1 is letting them know, oftentimes, and it could be just a quick statement. Oftentimes, many of our members say that bill pay is too complex, but when it actually isn't. So a quick statement of initiating that objection is we're going to raise it, and that's the way we're going to raise it. Letting them know, a lot of members say that bill pay is too complex, but it actually isn't. So then we're going to minimize their perceived effort of why it's not complex. And how can we do that? Well, we have those demos for you guys on the internet. You can show them how to set up bill pay or how to pop money, right? So we can show them all the time too. By clicking here, enrolling here, this is how you can set up your bill pay. Now, once we go through the steps, so So once we demonstrate that, click here, you can enroll into your bill. finally, but the minimizing their perceived effort is going to be with one simple recap statement. Just how I did use Sarah earlier as an example, telling them, now that I've shown you some of the steps on how easy it is to use bill pay, is this something that you can see yourself using with our help or our support? Is bill pay something you can use? So the member oftentimes is going to say what? Probably yes, right? Hopefully, if we've done all this and have already assessed that objection, members are going to mostly likely say yes. Now, what do you guys think? Why would you want to raise the objection? If I raise something that you're already about to object to, if I raise it, what does that do to you? What's that?
You already addressed concerns before they even say it.
Right, so if I'm already addressing the concern, I'm gonna have your attention even more, right? So if we're having a conversation and I tell you, a lot of members feel that bill pay is a little too complex or it does take too much time. A lot of times members have that reaction like, oh, and they sit back, okay, let's see what Trustee has to say. Let's see where he's going with this. All right, tell me more now. Now I'm more eager to hear what you have to say, right? So if you go through the process and you tell them, actually it's not that hard or it doesn't take that much time. Here, let me show you how quickly and easy it is. Show them one of our demos, and then you can let them know, based on what I've shown you, is this something that you can use? And what are they going to say? Most likely, yes. There's no reason for them to say no, unless they have another concern. So when we did this with the pilot class, some trainees voiced a concern as to, what if we're raising a concern that they don't initially have? What if I'm thinking, oh, it's probably too complex? But then the members are like, I wasn't actually thinking that. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking maybe that it's going to cost me money, or maybe that I don't have the time. That wasn't my main issue, have time. And what I have to say to that is, what do you guys think? So is it necessarily beneficial to raise the concern or not?
Well, it's beneficial to raise the concern primarily because you're clearing their head for them. Because it's like if someone's trying to talk to you about a product or something, you're already like, oh, he's just trying to sell me something, or this isn't something I want to do, or like you're going through these things in your head. So you're kind of like taking those thoughts out of their head and saying, hey, just step back and listen to me for a second.
Right.
Regardless of if that was their primary concern or not.
Okay, I like that response. So sometimes when you're taking those objections out of their head, we do have other tactics. So how else have you guys dealt with resistance when you're trying to cross-sell something to a member and they just simply say no? What's one tactic that you use, Justin?
Just ask again.
Ask again?
Maybe ask why they're not okay with it. Ask
Okay.
why they said no.
Okay.
And
And then let's say they tell you, well, let's say you did this, you tried the too complex, and I was like, well, actually it's just too much time for me. So then what would you have to say to that?
address how it could save time, probably.
Okay, so then knowing good and great, Justin, knowing that sometimes this may work and sometimes they may not. So making sure and just checking. So if I say, well, actually that wasn't my thing. It wasn't that it was too complex. Makes sense, bill pay is really easy, it's actually don't have any time. All right, then you know how to address that. So knowing that this is going to be just more as a tool in your guys' tool bag to know that, hey, as I'm going through my process and I'm identifying this member, one, do they potentially have an objection or a concern? Because again, if they don't have a concern, they're like, oh yeah, tell me more about that. Just be, okay, cool, yeah, just sign me up. They could be one of those 10% that aren't going to have any objections. So whatever you say is going to be gold to them. So they're ready to sign up. So then there's no objection there. That's it, right? Those are our favorite members. And then you have those others that always say no. So you go through the motions like, nope, don't want it. Nope, don't want it. Well, why not? How about you stop asking me why? Or how about you stop asking me why, right? All right, so that's essentially aim and the process of how it works. You want to first acknowledge the fact that there could be an objection or some resistance. Now we're going to initiate it and minimize. So the crucial part is here, we want to minimize the perceived effort on the member's behalf. So this way, when you're presenting to the member looks at it and be like, you know what, that's a piece of cake. I can definitely see myself using it because it's so easy. And so easy because it's the way you present it or the way we sold it. One, showing the benefits to them, and then the magnitude of how much they're going to benefit from this new process or this new product or the new service that they're going to sign up for. All right? So let's show you guys a quick video of this. What are your guys' thoughts on this topic? Jay? Now, does this ring a bell?
Yeah.
This looks familiar, huh? Okay. Show you guys a quick video of it in process. And then we'll have a quick activity. Yeah. That's all. So I'll show you guys this video and then we'll do a quick role play. I would have never been able to guess your password.
And I made it shorter than before.
Can you recognize some of those members?
All right, just follow me this way, like I'll be right here.
Thank you.
Good. And you'll be making your payment with a check. And you just need your ID. All right. Awesome. How do they go to this ID? Yeah, no problem. Sure the wait wasn't too long. Yeah, okay, so I can see here that you mostly make your payments in the branch, come in, or via mail. That's correct. Okay, so let me ask you, how else do you pay your other bills?
Usually mail it in, or sometimes I phone.
Okay, great. That's really one way to ensure that your payment gets properly made. Now I can see here, as I'm doing your auto payment, you're an online user with us, but you don't use our bill pay feature. Now, some members can be a little hesitant in regards to sign up for e-bills because either they feel it's not secure or it takes too much time. But what I can do is show you some of our features, how it can, one, show you that it is secure, and then two, it's going to show you that it's really easy to use. So I'm going to move over my screen here. And in fact, now based on what I've shown you, you've seen how easy it is and it is secure. Is this something that you can see yourself using with a little bit of practice in our support here at Global One?
Yeah.
Awesome. What we can do now is set up your other bills. Do you have time to do that today?
I actually have to get back to work, but
Okay.
can I come to talk tomorrow maybe?
Yeah, well, we can.
Right there, right?
Yeah, no, it's okay. You could go all the way to the end. It's just
We'll do the phone play.
Okay.
All right, so seeing that, what are your guys' thoughts?
I'm just wondering how you came up with that objection for her.
So-
I guess is my question.
Right. No, that's good. How did I know that she was an online user but not a bill pay user? Right. So essentially, that's what I would be looking at is when I'm taking the auto loan payment, we're bringing up Telenav because I'll make the auto loan payment. So Viewpoint is right off of Telenav. So clicking
Yeah,
on
no, I mean more like the too complex kind of thing. Is that just standard, a lot of members think it's not easy to use and that?
Well, for the e-bill, I said, what was it that I said for the e-bill? Did I say it was too complex or did I?
Not secure.
It's not secure and it takes too much time. And is that mostly the case when it comes to e-bills? Or people that want to set up bill pay? Most of the time? What do you guys think?
It's just that, since you've represented before, that it's a hassle to go and set something new.
Mhm.
That's like usually the problem.
Yeah, usually, a lot of times when else the branch members wouldn't want to sign up for e-bills because they're like, it's just gonna take me too much time.
Okay.
I have to sit in there and input all the account numbers, I gotta sit there and input all my bills.
So it's more like a general concern.
It is a general
Okay.
concern. So you see how I raised the concern saying, well, most members feel that e-bill, it's either not secure or it takes too much time. But what I did was, when I flipped over the screen, what were some of the things that you guys would essentially think that I would show the member?
How easy it is, the step-by-step process or one of the demos.
Exactly, so the step-by-step process or one of the demos, some of the features of the bill pay setup. Did that answer your question, Justin?
Yeah, I think earlier we were just kind of talking about maybe picking those up during the profiling process, so I
right.
don't know if there are different times when, like, while you're profiling her, she seemed like she's worried about security.
Right, so it'd be when you'd either be profiling her or looking at certain things off the viewpoint that would kind of indicate, well, I can see that she's an online user, but she's not bill pay. All right, so what are some, and then this is going back, in your own thought process. All right, so me being at the branch and the experience that I've had, I know that a lot of times when I'm trying to pitch bill pay to a member, their concern is going to be what? Either A, I don't have the time to set up e-bills, or two, I'm not using e-bills because I feel like they're not secure. So I'd rather just send out regular checks at my own leisure. That's just been my experience. So I know, hey, the members that I deal with at my branch, all the time, that's all I heard. Because my teller would tell them, hey, do you want to sign up for e-bills? It's really free now. I don't have any time. And that's usually a lot of times the concern. And that brings up a good point, Justin. You brought up a good point. So it's going to be kind of like a mini little segue, but it's going to lead us into a great discussion. Whoops. Turned it off. Hold on. So for the most part, members and their objections that they have are going to be generally pretty common. So it's going to be they don't have the money to do something. So a lot of times, oh, I don't have the money, or don't have the time. What do you think this one is? Something you said earlier, just briefly. Don't have the need. It's not, there's no urgency there, so I don't feel like I need it. Those two go hand in hand. You know, there's no need for it, and it's not urgent, so I don't need to get it right now. And a lot of times, when it comes to urgency and members seeking, it falls onto credit. So a lot of members don't apply for credit because there's no need for it, and it's not urgent. Well, I don't need a line of credit right now. But what ends up happening is once they need the line of credit, then they don't get the line of credit. So we want to create that urgency, or we want to create that need, and that sometimes falls upon your guys' shoulders to create that need or create that urgency. And then finally, is that they don't trust what you're presenting. So if we know that most of our common objections are either going to be money, time, need, urgency, or trust, then I know based on the members in front of me, I'm either going to have to create that need or create that urgency. So looking at her profile, seeing one, she's an online user, but she doesn't use bill pay. She doesn't use bill pay probably because she doesn't have the need. And a lot of times bill pay users don't have the time to do it. So if I tackle these two and tell them, hey, here's the need, and I'm going to show you how easy it is because it's going to save you time, then the resistance is going to be hardly there. And then if there is some resistance, let's say I was completely off, then I would use what you recommended. Then ask them, okay, well, why is it that you don't want to use e-bills? Okay, because it's not urgent to me. All right, then I have to create that urgency. And a lot of times, you guys may ask, well, how do we create urgencies? So, how many of us drive? We all drive, all right? So, do you have a spare tire in your car, sir? Okay, why do you have that spare tire? In case what happens? Right, so you never wake up thinking, hey, I hope I get a flat tire today, right? So same thing with our products. A lot of times members come in, open up a checking and savings account, but do we think about giving them a line of credit? Sometimes not. Why would you give them a line of credit? Security, to give them just in case. So does the members wake up and plan, oh, I hope I don't get paid today and my check bounces and I get overdrafted and I get all these fees? No, probably not. There's not many members that think like that. But if they do and something does happen, then I can think, well, you know what, it's a good thing I went to go see Justin at the Folsom branch and he gave me that line of credit. Because even though there's a problem with my direct deposit, they issued me a paper check, I set up auto pay just like the way you told me to, I set up my e-bill, I did all the stuff that Justin told me to, now I withdrew my account, but it pulled it from my golden reserve, so there's no, so it was great because you created that urgency and the need. And a lot of times that's what we have to think, okay, give them the checking and have the savings account, but then we got to think about that what if just in case. We all drive around with spare tires, not thinking that hopefully I wake up this morning and I get a flat so I can use that spare tire. But if something does happen, it's there to prevent you from feeling that pain, right? So this is kind of just keeping this top of mind that these are the most common type of objections that people are going to use. It's going to be money, time, need, urgency, or trust. And hopefully this you guys tackle because of the report that you guys have already built with your member base. All right, so we don't have to worry about that. The money and time, we have different tactics of tackling that, and then the need and urgency go hand in hand. All right, so what we're going to do is put some of your guys' skills to a test. We've made some of these target members on these paddles here for you guys. And what you guys have to do is write down an objection. So here's your target member. So I'm here to deposit my paycheck. My employer doesn't do direct deposits. So someone else in MRS is going to try to offer you a product or service. So if you get this target member, so just if I give you this, then what I want you to do is write an objection on the back of this PowerPoint. All right, so all you have to do is come up with an objection to this. So what would you say if you're this member, you're there at the branch to deposit your paycheck, and your employer doesn't offer you a deposit? What's potentially something that you could offer them as a service? No deposit. So then what would be an objection to them? Maybe, yeah, I don't have a phone, so just create the objection, and then we'll take it from there, all right? Well, you know what, I would switch it. So all you need to do is come up with an objection for your target member, and then I'll have Sean come up here and pair you guys up, and then we'll go through the activity. Just like Sean.
I don't.
Just make sure you're okay right there. One time. We're going to do it right now. So don't show Jasper your objection, just show them the target member. So you guys don't show each other your objections. All right, so what I want you guys to do is kind of face each other, so you would be almost like this. And Justin, if you want, you can swing on this way, so it'll be more like the branch. And then, based off what you see in front of you there, you can ask them, okay, what are they there to do? So what service are you going to have in your mind that you're going to potentially cross-sell? And as you present that service to them, think about the possible objection. All right? So if in their cross-selling transition statement, whatever you want to call it, they address that objection, then you're not going to have an objection. But if they don't get it completely and they're completely off, then go ahead and tell them, well, you know, actually that doesn't work for me because, and then you can give them their objection. Does that make sense? So, one more time. So, based on what you see in front of you, you're going to think of a service, right? You're going to try to cross-sell it to Jay. So, in that cross-selling attempt, hopefully, you diminish this objection, whatever it is on the back. So, if you hit the nail on the head, then he's going to be like, yeah, that sounds great, sign me up, or what have you. Now, if you don't, then he's going to tell you, well, actually, no, that doesn't work for me. So then you have to think of other ways to overcome this resistance. Does that make sense? All right.
Tell them what our objection is.
Yeah, so not at first, but let's say they get it, then you're like, all right, you got it, that was exactly what my objection was. Now, if they don't, then you're going to tell them, well, no, that's, all right? All right, cool. So just decide who's going to go first, and then we'll swap because we'll give everyone a fair chance. Questions? Good? You'll go first? All right. All right, have at it, guys.
So you want to do your paycheck from your owner, they don't do it off of your deposit? All right. Have you ever considered those deposits where you just be at home?
Do you have friends?
You're not taking care of it.
Or family?
Oh,
You
you
have
like
a time
that?
area at this point.
And you can always come in to do flex transactions, but because if you just make a paycheck to the bank,
Things giraffe station.
bigger.
Check your balances. Show your brand, so it would save you time.
Yeah, I think that's a bunch of cashiers.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I got it. You still didn't tell me. That's cool.
Because, I know a lot of members are very comfortable with texting their account balances, but it's something that
Yeah.
What did we do?
Yeah, he got his right away, so. that was-
Oh, you got it right away?
Yeah.
All right, so Jasper, you got it right away. So what was it that he did that he was able to nail it right away?
Mine was, he needed an easier way to check balances, and I said I didn't have a smartphone,
Uh-huh.
but he offered text banking. So,
Well, so
still,
walk me through your process, Jasper. How was it that you?
So I started the conversation by, like I see that you're in the branch to check your balances, like you're something as simple as, and we have numbers that come up and I didn't want the balance.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, have you ever considered, an easier way? And I know that a lot of members are iffy about texting in sensitive information as their balances, but it's something that's very simple and secure, and it's really easy to do on your phone.
So that approach was great job, Jasper. So in the gallery, thank you. It's a really good approach because you took an approach that didn't necessarily specify to a smartphone, but just anyone's gonna have a phone in general, and that text alert where you don't want to be texting your information, if you can set it up to text you the balance and stuff like that, it's gonna be, members are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's great. And then they can, often, it's gonna open up a door for them to provide you more details, as in, maybe I do have a smartphone, or maybe I don't have a smartphone, but what other features can I use with this phone, or tell me more about your online banking services. Great, good job. How about over here, how did we do?
I think, we both, we tried and then they were like, oh, no, and then we tried again and that did it.
Okay, so that's great. So sometimes it's gonna work, sometimes it's not. So if you guys remember when we were talking about the recipe, sometimes it's gonna work, sometimes it's not. Trial and error in your experience, and then you're gonna fine tune it and see, okay, now I know to bring up this common objection, or why am I gonna choose to go down this route? Just like how you point out, why did I choose to pick the security and the ease of bill pay? Because that was just my experience at the branch, and based on what I've seen, I'm gonna make the deduction of this member probably falls into this category, so let me see if that works, and it does. So it is gonna be sometimes a trial and error where you're gonna see, I probably did it too early. So that goes. I'm upside down, but that brings up another point with this whole AIM process. And as we go, and you guys start being introduced to this tactic, and we really want to implement, it's a trial and error type of thing. It's a trial and error type of thing, and it's a process that you're going to implement into your own process. So, Jasper, your process was going to differ from Jay's process. And likewise with Justin and Sarah. Whereas, Justin, you're going to have helping members at the desk, whereas Sarah, you're going to be helping members in teller. So, completely two different processes, right? So, a lot of times, the resistance that Sarah may face is going to be minimal to the resistance that you may face because desk conversation is going to be maybe a little bit more intense. So, the graph I showed you guys earlier, that depending on what the scenario or the situation calls for, this aim, acknowledging, initiating, and minimize that perceived effort on the member's behalf, it's really going to depend on when you decide to use that. So sometimes you may want to use it earlier in your interaction. So what does that do? That reduces that resistance that the member is facing. So if that doesn't work, you're still facing some resistance, the resistance is going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be a little bit down here. So maybe you need to approach a different concern and maybe chop that resistance. Eventually, we're going to get closer to minimizing the resistance where there is not going to be any more resistance. So kind of like how you guys shared, you guys first went through it and it didn't really hit the nail on the head. So then you had to ask, what was your process? So Justin shared with us earlier, well, I'll just ask them, what concerns do they have? Or why do they not want to use it? All right, then I can take that approach and then shut down that resistance. So AIM is all about choosing when to use it at the appropriate time. As we all shared earlier, why did Jay have a hard time figuring out how to make those ribs? Because he was not adding enough salt. So if you use the right amount of tactic on when it comes up in your process and your interaction, then you're going to be much more successful. So Justin, as you go with your members' interaction, then you know what, I'm going to use it right off the bat. Just bring up some concerns that I normally face. I face that, it costs a lot of time or there's no need. So I'm going to create that need. I'm going to let them know, well, a lot of members feel that they don't need a line of credit, but this is how the line of credit is going to benefit them. And then now I'm going to show them the magnitude. And then I'm going to let them know, so how does that sound to you? Well, there's other concerns. Then you can address them because then you know how to address them. But now the resistance is a little bit lower because, like Jaspreet shared with us earlier, now you're kind of inside their head and you're thinking about those objections that they could potentially have. So they're either going to voice their concerns or they're going to be able to listen to you more because now you're voicing their concerns for them. And that's going to give you a lot of more power over the objections because you raised them. So now you have their attention. So now like, okay, well, let me see where Justin goes with this. Oh, all right, you answered that. Yeah, and then you asked me, do you have any questions? Nope, you've answered all my questions. So where do I sign? See how that makes sense? All right, so it's all depending, on your process. Okay, where does this end go? Does it go in the beginning of your process? Does it go in the middle, or does it go at the end? Or do I even need it? Again, do you guys have different tactics? And from Jaspreet's example, you guys definitely, did a fantastic job over there. Where here, it didn't work out so much, but you guys still overcame it and eventually was able to address the member's concern, right? So there's always different ways to get, this is just another way of doing it. All right, so now we're going to bring the tea back up. Oh, we're going to go for break. Let's see, it's 5 till, we'll be back at 10 after. Oh, all right.